It's Kyle Rittenhouse update. Wanted to talk about this, kind of intrigued, obviously, by the whole circumstance surrounding that case, all the nuance and everything. But let's read this real quick, get an update, and kind of give my thoughts on this. I've talked about this a couple times already in past videos, and I'm sure there'll be a couple more videos. Some big time trials going to be coming our way in 2021, that's for sure. So there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on. Kyle Rittenhouse flashed hate symbols, posed with Proud Boys in a Wisconsin bar, prosecutors say. Shortly after pleading not guilty to murder and weapons charges earlier this month, Kyle Rittenhouse showed up at a bar in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, clad in a t-shirt that said, "Free as fudge." Prosecutors said. Then the 18-year-old allegedly drank 3 beers, posed for photos with members of Proud Boys, and flashed the white power hand signal. Shh. You can't flash the okay sign. But if you do the double, you might be okay. Like this. Excursion raised red flags for prosecutors handling the state's case against Rittenhouse, who was charged with fatally shooting 2 men and wounding a third during an August protest following the police shooting of a black man in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That was Jacob Blake, and we see how that has gone since then. No charges for the officer involved. On Wednesday, the Kenosha County District Attorney's Office asked a judge to forbid Rittenhouse from drinking alcohol using the Supreme signs and spending time with members of the Proud Boys, a male-chauvinist group with ties to white nationalism. The defendant's continued association with members of a group that prides itself on violence and the use of their symbols raises the significant possibility of future harm, prosecutors said in a motion. Is that what they really care about? Makes you wonder, right? An attorney representing Rittenhouse did not immediately return a message from the Washington Post late Wednesday. In court, his attorneys have argued Rittenhouse acted in self-defense in the shootings. The then 17-year-old told police he traveled to Kenosha, armed with a gun he purchased, using a coronavirus stimulus check, to protect a car dealership and render first aid amid unrest over the police shooting of Jacob Blake. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. They say here that he told police he traveled with a gun that he had purchased, meaning carrying across state lines, which would be a serious charge in my understanding. But I'm also of the understanding that he was provided the gun by a friend, so he didn't travel across state lines. The friend had the gun. That's what I've heard. Am I wrong on that? If I am wrong on that, definitely let me know, because that is huge there. And if that is true, that he was provided the gun in Wisconsin, then this Washington Post article is inaccurate right there. It's painting a false picture. He was provided the gun by a friend while already in the state. Far-right groups, including the Proud Boys, have rallied behind Rittenhouse, defending his actions and hailing him as a hero. President Trump refused to condemn the shooting and suggested Rittenhouse may have been defending himself. And there is that video put out by his legal defense team. Obviously, it's going to be put out in a light to make him look good. Facts are facts, as I always say. I'll find the video again and I'll link it below. Check that out if you haven't seen it. It's a timeline of the night. I think it's like a 13-minute video or so. But again, put out by his defense team. So always keep that in mind. Photos of Rittenhouse socializing with Proud Boys at Pudgy's Pub. Pudgy's Pub first surfaced on social media last week, the Kenosha News reported. Amid public outrage over the photos, police visited the bar and viewed security footage, but determined Rittenhouse had not violated the terms of his bail or broken Wisconsin law, which allows adults under 21 to drink alcohol in bars if accompanied by a parent. Wow, that's nice. Wisconsin. So you can be under 21 and drink if a parent accompanies you. I wonder how many other states have laws like that. Well, they say Wisconsin is the beer and cheese, right? So I guess that makes sense that they would have that law. I wonder how many other states have laws like that. According to court records obtained by the Post, Rittenhouse arrived at Pudgy's Pub with his mother on January 5th, about 90 minutes after he pleaded not guilty in a remote court hearing. He had been released from jail in November after posting a $2 million bond, which his former attorney John Pierce said was raised through internet fundraising. Prosecutors noted neither Rittenhouse nor his family had to put up any property or money of their own as collateral for his release. Okay, thank you for noting that. Inside the bar, several adults welcomed him and loudly serenaded the 18-year-old with a rendition of Proud of Your Boy, a song originally written for Disney's Aladdin that has in recent years been claimed as an anthem by the Proud Boys. Then Rittenhouse posed for photos with the men, prosecutor said. Photos filed as evidence by the Kenosha prosecutors show the teenager flashing a hand sign that has been designated a hate symbol by the Anti-Defamation League. No word on whether individuals who flash that in our culture are going to be designated as the supreme type folks as well, or does it just depend on the color of one's skin? In these photographs, the defendant and other males flash the OK sign, which has been co-opted as a sign of WP by known supremacist group, prosecutors said. In the motion filed Wednesday, prosecutors asked that Rittenhouse be banned from associating with members of any violent supreme group, including the Proud Boys. Prosecutors noted his association with the groups may serve to intimidate potential witnesses who may be unwilling to testify in this case because they may fear that the defendant's associates will harm them or their families. You are going to have to show me any instance where individuals of the Proud Boys have been tied to any bit of witness tampering. Witness intimidation. This is a pretty heavy charge. You're going to have to show me the evidence on that they've been tied to any of that. If you can show me that, we can have that conversation. And I would say the same of BLM, Antifa, if they were involved in this and if the shooter were aligned with them. If you can show me, to make the claim is one thing. I think you get what I'm saying. To make that claim, it's like you're just trying to throw it out there to muddy the waters, to get it in people's minds, taint the jury pool in a way. So what I'm saying is I think the prosecution is playing a game here. They're trying to pretend like they're looking out for witnesses and jury members, possibly other people involved in this case. But I think they're the ones out there trying to intimidate with character assassination. And like I said, I'll take it back to what I was just saying was, to make this claim is pretty bold. Again, as I said, I think it's tainting the jury pool. And especially with what happened a week ago, I think they're trying to take advantage of that. Get into people's minds that, hey, oh God, these terrorists are trying to take over the country. He's associated with them. I really think they know what they're doing. And that's a game prosecution always plays. And as I said, though, if they were trying to make the same claim about BLM or Antifa or anything like that, in terms of witness intimidation, you have to show me evidence because that's a huge claim right there. That's big. The Proud Boys have a history of participating in violence, especially at protests, prosecutors said. The motion also noted members of the group were present at the January 6th riot at the Capitol. And there you go, you see what I'm saying? They're trying to play this game where they act like they're concerned about associates and their families. But in reality, they're really trying to muddy the water to make this individual look bad. And it's a typical game they play, I think, because when you know that the facts aren't really on your side, then you're going to go after character assassination. And I wouldn't doubt that the prosecutors have particular political ideologies. That wouldn't surprise me one bit to know that they were on a particular side of the aisle. The photos also showed Rittenhouse drinking beers inside the bar with several adults, including his mother, Wendy Rittenhouse, the court filing said. Prosecutors asked a judge to restrict Rittenhouse from consuming alcohol as part of his bail conditions. No alcohol. The state of Wisconsin prohibits those under the age of 21 from possessing or consuming alcohol, with some limited exceptions, because underage drinkers are not mature enough to handle alcohol responsibly, prosecutors said. Furthermore, the consumption of alcohol increases the likelihood of violent criminal acts. I like here how they say with some limited exceptions. They obviously know that having a parent in the picture is an exception, but yet they still went ahead and tried to file the charge anyway. The court has not set a time to consider the request from prosecutors. A final pretrial hearing in his case is scheduled for March 10th, and jury selection is set to begin on March 29th. Oh, March 29th, that's an interesting day. It's my birthday. I looked at the poll here. Do you personally think these reported recent actions by Kyle Rittenhouse will or will not negatively impact his defense case in current court proceedings against him. And this is what I was talking about throughout the whole article, was this is nothing but an attempt by them to smear him because they know the facts aren't on their side. Common prosecution tactic. Throughout time, they do it, smearing people. I would imagine that when this gets before a jury, they're going to say, well, forget everything you see, forget everything the defense puts on. He took photos with these individuals who are linked to these supreme groups, and he drank beers, so therefore he must be guilty of murder. A majority of people said it will, in their opinion, impact his defense negatively, 78%. So pretty overwhelming. Only 12% will not, 8% not sure. If you're not sure, why would you even answer? And then 2% answer just to have no opinion. Why would you rather have no opinion? We've got other big time cases coming along this year, as I mentioned. Arbery case, obviously the Floyd case with Chauvin. Recently, the judge determined that Chauvin would be tried separately from the other 3 officers that were on the scene. There's the Brooks case. I haven't kept up with that one. I don't know if that one's still going forward. That one, to me, seemed like a pretty clear-cut case of self-defense, that the district attorney in that one would be making a fool of themselves if they went ahead and tried to prosecute that one. But politics being what it is, it's really never about getting the conviction or right and wrong. I think what we've learned a lot in 2020 with the way certain individuals have been handled for their actions in the riots throughout the US and everything like that, that it's okay in certain jurisdictions to do certain things, that it's all political. That as long as you're doing whatever you're doing in your jurisdiction, and your prosecutors and your mayors and your city officials side with what you're doing, that you aren't going to face any legal repercussions. The law be damned, as they say. So in this case, like I said, I'll put the video down there if you haven't seen it. I know a lot of you may have seen it. But what I would say around the whole situation is this. I was kind of giving it some thought, and I was saying, if you're sitting here, just work with me on this one. If you're sitting here trying to say that this guy is a supremacist, we're just talking about that piece of it by itself. That if he's a supreme type folk and he aligns with these other white nationalist type folks, but every individual who tried to attack him or those that he is seen on tape as shooting, whether justified self-defense or whether they convict him, those individuals were all white. If you're trying to paint this picture to me of some white supreme type individual, and you're telling me that all of the harm he did was to white people, then, as I said before in my past videos, that's the worst white supremacist ever. The white supremacist that kills other white people? Wouldn't he be a hero in the black community with the BLM folk? The more radical type that don't like the white folk and would rather see them gone? Why wouldn't those individuals be rallying to his defense after he took out 2 whiteys and took the arm off of another one? Makes you wonder, right? You'd think he'd be a hero in that community since, as I said, a lot of those radical individuals that head BLM, that's what they want. So if I'm on the jury, and bias is what it is, everybody has it, but to be on a jury, if I were, and to hear that an individual is a white supreme guy, I'd be like, oh wow, he must have shot 57 black people. Oh man, he must have all this KKK and, ropes hanging from his house. But then to tell me he's just a 17-year-old kid who was even seen on video saying, hey, we side with your protests or your right to protest. But then his victims were all white. And some of those victims, now again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but one of them had convictions on his record for kid-related offenses. Possibly a second did as well, something like that. It's just, again, what I've heard. I'm not totally clear on the facts, so don't take what I'm saying as accurate. Fact check that for yourself, and yes, fact check me if I'm wrong on that. I don't want to go around thinking wrong things. But all 3 of the individuals had a criminal past. Is that accurate? That's just what I've heard from most people. So with that being said, March 10th, final pretrial hearing, jury selection on March 29th. Trial would be starting a couple weeks after that. Just a quick update on the case. So we'll see where it goes from here. Given everything I've seen, I tend to think it's self-defense. More information may come out. We'll wait on that and kind of judge and evaluate as we go forward. But It's going to be interesting for those individuals on the jury. So thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think about this case. I'm sure a lot of you have some thoughts on it strongly, one way or another. All right, everybody, be well, and thanks for watching.